It's okay, I've got you now. There you go. You're safe with me.
The Harley's engine cuts through the Nevada desert silence like a chainsaw through silk. Jake Reaper Morrison doesn't stop for anything. Not highway patrol, not rival clubs, and definitely not the bundle of pink fabric lying in the middle of Route 50 at 2 a.m. But then it moves. He slams the brakes so hard the back tire fishtails, kicking up dust that hangs in his headlight like a ghost. The other three Hells Angels behind him scatter to avoid the collision, their bikes screaming protests into the darkness. "What the hell, Reaper?" Jane's voice crackles through the helmet comm. Jake's already off his bike, his size 13 boots hitting the asphalt before his brain catches up to what his eyes are seeing. The pink fabric isn't a discarded blanket or some junkie's sleeping bag. It's a car seat. And inside, wrapped in a hospital blanket with tiny elephants on it, is a baby, a living, breathing, impossibly small human being, maybe 3 months old, left in the middle of nowhere like yesterday's trash. The infant's face is scrunched up, mouth open in a silent cry that suddenly explodes into a wail that could wake the dead. In 12 years with the Hells Angels, in all the runs and raids and wars he's survived, Jake has never heard a sound that terrified him more. "Jesus Christ," Chains breathes, pulling up beside him. "Is that a baby?" Jake's voice sounds strange in his own ears, foreign. His hands, which are broken bones and pulled triggers without shaking, hover over the car seat like he's approaching a live grenade. Someone just left her here. The baby's cry intensifies, her tiny fists punching the air. Around them, the desert stretches in every direction. No cars, no houses, no explanation. Just endless darkness and a child who shouldn't exist in this moment, in this place, in Jake's world. Tank, the club's road captain, scans the highway with his flashlight. No vehicle, no tire tracks except ours. Whoever dumped her is long gone. "We need to call the cops," Chains says. "And say what?" Jake's still staring at the baby. Her face is turning red from crying and something in his chest cracks like old leather. "That 4 Hells Angels on a run to Reno found an abandoned infant. We've got enough heat on us already. So what, we just leave her?" Tank's voice rises. "She'll die out here, man." Jake knows Tank's right. It's freezing high desert cold that will drop below 40 before dawn. The baby's wearing nothing but a onesie, and her lips already have a bluish tint. His hands move before his mind agrees, reaching down to unbuckle the car seat straps. The baby's so light it makes him angry, makes him want to find whoever did this and show them exactly what happens to people who hurt kids. But first he has to figure out what to do with this tiny human who's looking up at him with eyes that are too trusting, too vulnerable, too for the world she's been thrown into. "We'd take her with us," he says. The baby won't stop crying. Jake's tried everything. His limited knowledge can conjure holding her, not holding her, checking for injuries, talking to her in what he hopes is a soothing voice. Nothing works. She just screams, her whole body rigid with distress, and he's starting to panic in a way he hasn't since his first firefight in Afghanistan. "Maybe she's hungry," James suggests, though he looks as clueless as Jake feels. "What are we supposed to feed her? Jack Daniels?" Tank's attempt at humor falls flat. The 4th member of their group, a prospect named Miller who's barely said 2 words all night, suddenly speaks up. "My sister has a baby. They need formula and diapers. There's a truck stop about 20 miles ahead." Jake looks down at the infant in his arms, because somehow she's ended up there, tucked against his leather vest like she belongs. She stopped screaming and is now making these little hiccuping sounds that are somehow worse than the crying. Fine. We ride to the truck stop, fast. They mount up, and Jake realizes he has a new problem: how to hold a baby on a motorcycle. He ends up tucking her inside his vest, zipping it most of the way up so she's pressed against his chest, her head supported by his palm. It's awkward, and probably a dozen kinds of illegal, but she settles almost immediately, apparently soothed by the rumble of the engine and the warmth of his body. The ride to the Flying J truck stop is the longest 20 miles of Jake's life. He keeps one hand on the baby. She needs a name, he realizes. He can't keep thinking of her as it or the baby, and rides slower than he has in years. The other guys form a protective triangle around him, blocking wind and potential road debris. When they pull into the fluorescent-lit parking lot, truckers and late-night travelers stare openly at the sight. 4 heavily tattooed bikers. their cuts displaying the unmistakable Hell's Angel's death's head, and one of them carefully extracting an infant from his vest. Inside the truck stop, they must look like some bizarre fever dream. Jake heads straight for the baby aisle while the others stand guard, hyper-aware of the attention they're drawing. He stares at the wall of formula options, like it's written in ancient Greek. Powder versus ready to feed. Different stages. Organic. Sensitive stomach. How is anyone supposed to know which one? Can I help you? He turns to find a woman in her 60s wearing a truck stop uniform and an expression that's equal parts suspicious and amused. A name tag reads, Dorothy. I need. Jake gestures helplessly at the baby, who's starting to fuss again. Everything. Formula, bottles, diapers. I don't know what I'm doing. Dorothy's sharp eyes sweep over him, the Hell's Angel's patch, the tattoos crawling up his neck, the scars on his knuckles, then down to the baby. Something shifts in her face. How old? I don't know. 3 months maybe? And you've never done this before. It's not a question, but Jake answers anyway. No, ma'am. She reaches past him, grabbing bottles, formula, and a package of newborn diapers with practiced efficiency. This'll get you started. You need to warm the formula, not microwave it. Just run the bottle under hot water. Test it on your wrist first. Support her head when you feed her. And for God's sake, get her into warmer clothes. Jake fumbles for his wallet, pulling out several $100 bills. Whatever else she might need. Clothes, blankets, whatever, add it on. Dorothy's eyebrows climb. That's going to be quite a tab. I don't care. 20 minutes later, they're back outside. Jake's learned how to hold a bottle, change a diaper, badly, and dress a squirming infant in footy pajamas covered in little moons and stars. The baby, he's been calling her Luna in his head. Because of those pajamas and because she appeared under a full moon, is finally quiet, sucking down formula like she hasn't eaten in days. She probably hasn't. The rage that's been simmering in his gut since he found her intensifies. What kind of monster abandons a baby in the desert? What now? James asks, lighting a cigarette then quickly stubbing it out when Jake glares at him. We can't just keep her, man. Why not? The words surprise everyone, including Jake. Tank steps forward. Because we're Hell's Angels on a run to Reno to meet with the Fresno chapter about the gun shipment. Because we live in a clubhouse that barely passes health codes. Because none of us know the first thing about raising a kid. Someone left her to die, Jake says quietly, looking down at Luna's face. Her eyes are drifting closed, milk-drunk and finally peaceful, out there in the desert, alone. If we take her to the cops, she goes into a system that's already broken. Foster care, group homes, passed around like property, and we're better. Chain's voice is gentle. Come on, Reaper. We're criminals. What kind of life can we give her? Jake doesn't have an answer, but looking at this tiny human who somehow ended up in his care, he knows one thing. He's not letting her go back into that darkness. Not yet. Maybe not ever. Hey, before we figure this out, if you're watching this and thinking about what you'd do in this situation, drop a comment and let me know where you're watching from. And if you want to see how this story unfolds, hit that subscribe button, because what happens next, none of us saw coming. They don't make it to Reno. Jake calls Hammer, the chapter president, from the truck stop payphone. The conversation is tense. You found a what? Hammer's voice could strip paint. A baby, Hammer. Someone abandoned her on Route 50. And you didn't call the cops because I. Jake stops, pressing his forehead against the scratched metal of the phone booth. Through the glass he can see Luna sleeping in Chains' arms, his brother looking terrified and tender at the same time. I don't know. It didn't feel right. Silence stretches between them. Hammer's been president for 15 years, has led them through wars with rival clubs, DEA investigations and internal conflicts that would have destroyed weaker organizations. Jake respects him more than almost anyone. The Fresno run, send Tank and Chains. I'm taking her. Somewhere. I'll figure it out. More silence. Then, you're keeping her. It's not a question, but Jake answers anyway. For now. Until I know she's safe. Reaper. Hammer's sigh crackles through the line. You can't save everyone. I'm not trying to save everyone. Just her. When Jake hangs up, he finds Miller waiting outside the booth. shifting his weight like he's got something to say but doesn't know how. Spit it out, prospect. My sister, Miller starts, then stops. She's a nurse, lives about 60 miles from here in Carson City. She and her husband, they've been trying to have kids for years. Multiple miscarriages, IVF didn't take. They're good people, Reaper. Really good. Jake's chest tightens. You think they'd want her? I think they'd want to help, at least short term, until you figure out what to do. Miller meets his eyes. I called her while you were on the phone. She's expecting us. The ride to Carson City happens in a haze. Tank and Jane split off at the highway junction, heading to Reno to handle club business. Miller leads the way, and Jake follows, Luna still tucked against his chest. He's memorized her face now, the way her eyebrows scrunch when she's about to cry, the little dimple in her left cheek, the way her fingers curl around his thumb when he holds her hand. 3 hours. He's known this kid for 3 hours, and already the thought of giving her up feels like losing a limb. Sarah Miller opens her door before they can knock. She's younger than Jake expected, maybe 30, with kind eyes and hands that immediately reach for Luna with the confidence of someone who knows exactly what they're doing. Oh, she breathes, taking the baby from Jake's arms. Oh, sweetheart, look at you. Luna wakes, startled, and Sarah bounces her gently, making soothing sounds that actually work. Within seconds, the baby settles, and Jake feels simultaneously relieved and jealous. Come inside, Sarah's husband David says. He's a teacher, Miller had explained during the ride. Elementary school. The kind of guy who probably coaches Little League and knows how to fix a leaky faucet. The kind of guy who should be raising a kid. Their house is everything Jake's life isn't. Warm, clean, full of photos and plants, and the kind of ordinary domesticity he stopped believing in years ago. Sarah takes Luna into the nursery room they prepared for a baby that never came, while David makes coffee that Jake doesn't drink. Miller told us what happened, David says quietly. Finding her like that, I can't even imagine. Someone just threw her away. Jake's hands curl into fists, left her in the middle of nowhere to die. But she didn't die. Sarah returns without Luna, who's apparently sleeping in an actual crib like a normal baby. Because you found her. You saved her life, Jake. The use of his real name instead of his road name catches him off guard. I don't know what to do with her, he admits. I can't keep her. My life the club, it's not a place for a kid. Sarah and David exchange a look, one of those married couple telepathic conversations that Jake's never experienced. We could foster her, Sarah offers carefully, until Child Services figures out her situation, or... She hesitates. If you wanted to pursue custody. Custody? Jake's laughs, but it's bitter. I'm a Hell's Angel with a record. No judge would give me custody of a goldfish, let alone a baby. You'd be surprised, David says, if you could provide a stable home, if you had support. I live in a clubhouse with 11 other bikers. We run guns and settle disputes with fists. That's my world. And yet you're here, Sarah points out. You could have left her in the desert, could have dropped her at a police station, but you brought her here, to us, because you want what's best for her. Jake doesn't know how to explain the feeling that's been growing in his chest since he first saw Luna. It's not logical, it's not smart, but it's there, undeniable as gravity. Can I see her before I go? Sarah leads him to the nursery. It's painted soft yellow with clouds on the ceiling and a mobile of fabric stars hanging over the crib. Luna's asleep in it, swaddled in a fresh blanket, her face peaceful in a way it hasn't been since he found her. She looks like she belongs here. And Jake? He belongs to the road, to the club, to a life measured in miles and loyalty and violence when necessary. There's no room in that life for a baby who deserves clouds painted on ceilings and people who know how to love without conditions. I'll go, he says, his voice rough, but when he turns to leave, he finds he can't move. His feet are rooted to the floor, his eyes locked on Luna's sleeping face. Or, Sarah says softly behind him, you could stay, not here but nearby, visit her, be in her life while we figure things out. You don't have to choose between your world and hers, not immediately. That's not how it works. Why not? It's such a simple question. Why not? Why can't he be both Reaper, the Hell's Angels Sergeant-at-Arms, and Jake, the man who pulled the baby from the desert and can't let her go? I don't know how, he admits. None of us do, David says, joining them in the nursery. Parenting is just figuring it out as you go, making it up, trying not to screw up too badly. Jake looks at them. This nice couple in their nice house with their nice normal lives. Then he looks at Luna, who has no idea that her whole future is being decided while she sleeps. 1 week, he hears himself say. Let me think about it for 1 week. Keep her safe and I'll figure out what to do. Sarah's smile is gentle. 1 week. And Jake? You're welcome here any time, day or night. She's safe with us, but you're part of her story now. That doesn't have to end. Jake makes it 12 hours before he comes back. He tells himself he's just checking in, making sure Luna's okay. But the truth is, he can't stop thinking about her. Can't sleep, can't focus on club business or the meeting with the Fresno chapter that he finally drags himself to. Hammer takes one look at him and shakes his head. You're gone, brother. Completely gone. I don't know what you're talking about. That baby, you're attached. Jake wants to deny it, but what's the point? The whole club knows him well enough to see through his bullshit. It's complicated. It always is. Hammer lights a cigarette, staring out at the Reno skyline. My old man used to say that life happens while you're making other plans. Maybe this is your life happening, Reaper. I don't do life. I do the club. And what if you could do both? It's the same question Sarah asked, and Jake still doesn't have an answer. He visits Luna every day that week, sometimes twice a day. Sarah and David don't judge, don't comment on the fact that he shows up at random hours, stays for minutes or hours depending on his mood. He learns things, how to properly support her head, how to burp her without getting spit up on his leather, how to read her different cries, hungry versus tired versus needing a diaper change, how her face lights up when she sees him, like he's the best thing in her tiny world. On day 3, she grabs his finger and doesn't let go, and something in Jake's chest cracks wide open. On day 5, Sarah teaches him how to give her a bath. Luna splashes and gurgles, and when she looks up at him with those trusting eyes, Jake knows he's completely, utterly screwed. On day 7, he's feeding her a bottle when David sits down across from him. Sarah and I talked to a lawyer friend, David says carefully, about custody situations, about what it would take for you to legally be her guardian. Jake's hand freezes on the bottle. I told you no judge would look at your character, not just your record, David interrupts. You have a job, even if it's unconventional. You have brothers who testify to your character. You have a home, savings, stability. And most importantly, you have a clear bond with Luna. That matters. I live in a clubhouse, so get an apartment or a house. Jake, if you want this, if you really want to be her father, there's a way. It won't be easy. You'll have to make changes, prove yourself, probably fight like hell. But it's possible. Father. The word lands like a punch. Jake Morrison is 34 years old. He's been in the military, been in the Hells Angels, been in more fights than he can count. He's never been anyone's father, never wanted to be. Until now. I can't give her a normal life, he says, looking down at Luna. She's almost done with the bottle, her eyelids drooping. I'm still going to be a Hells Angel. That's not changing. Normal is overrated, Sarah says from the doorway. What matters is love, safety, stability. Can you provide those things? Can he? The clubhouse has a spare room, tanks an accountant when he's not riding. He could help Jake manage finances. James taught high school shop class before he joined the club. He knows about safety and structure. Miller's sister is a nurse who could help with medical stuff. And Jake, he's got combat medic training from the army, a surprisingly decent credit score, and a fierce protective instinct that's currently focused on the 7-pound human in his arms. I'd need help, he admits. Everyone needs help, David replies. The difference is whether you're willing to accept it. That night, Jake calls a church meeting, what the club calls their official gatherings. He stands in front of his brothers, Luna, sleeping in a car seat at his feet. Sarah lent it to him and lays it all out. "I want to keep her," he says simply. "I know it's crazy. I know it complicates everything, but I can't." His voice cracks. "I can't let her go into the system. Can't walk away from her." The room is silent. Then Hammer stands. "Show of hands. Who's willing to help our brother raise this kid?" Every hand goes up. All 11 of them. Chain speaks first. "I can help child-proof wherever you end up living, and I'm pretty good with bedtime stories. Tank, I'll handle the financial stuff. Make sure everything's legal and above board. Tiny, their enforcer who's anything but tiny. I'll teach her to fight when she's older. Make sure nobody messes with her." One by one they pledge support, not because they have to, but because that's what brothers do. They show up, they help, they adapt. "You're going to need a better place than the clubhouse," Hammer says. "There's that house on Maple Street, the one old man Richards left to the club when he died. 3 bedrooms, fenced yard. We were going to sell it, but..." He shrugs. "Consider it yours. Club'll cover the property taxes." Jake's throat tightens. "I can't." "Yes, you can. We take care of our own. And if that baby's yours, then she's ours too." The house on Maple Street is a disaster. Jake stands in the doorway, Luna strapped to his chest in one of those baby carrier things Sarah insisted he needed, and surveys the damage. Old man Richards had been a hoarder. The place is stuffed with newspapers from the 1980s, broken furniture, and what might be a family of raccoons living in the attic based on the sounds coming from above. "Well," Jane says from behind him, "it's got potential." "It's got mold," Tank corrects, prodding a suspicious stain on the wall. "And character," Tiny adds optimistically. "It takes them 3 weeks to make it habitable." The club comes through in ways Jake never expected. Trains and his construction buddies gut the place, replacing rotted flooring and updating the electrical. Tank handles all the permits and paperwork. Hammer personally supervises the security installation cameras, reinforced locks, a panic room that seems excessive until Jake remembers there are people out there who'd love to hurt a Hell's Angel through his family. The brothers' old ladies help too. Maria, Hammer's wife, organizes a shopping trip for furniture and baby supplies. She's raised 3 kids and takes Jake under her wing like he's one of her own. "The first rule of babies," she tells him while they're picking out a crib, "is that all the rules are made up and nothing works the same way twice. Luna will tell you what she needs. You just have to listen." "What if I can't understand her?" Maria laughs, patting his cheek. "Oh honey, you will. Trust me, you will." Sarah and David help with the transition. They spend nights at the new house, teaching Jake routines: bath time at 7, bottle at 8, bedtime by 9. "Luna needs consistency," they explain. Babies thrive on predictable schedules. Jake, who's lived his whole adult life by the chaos of club business and open roads, struggles with this at first, but he learns. He buys a planner, sets phone reminders, reorganizes his entire existence around this tiny human's needs. The custody process is brutal. The lawyer David recommended, a woman named Patricia Chen, who's represented plenty of complicated cases, lays out the reality. "You're going to be under a microscope," she warns during their first meeting. "Your background, your associations, your lifestyle, everything will be examined. The state will want proof that you can provide a stable, safe environment." "I can. I believe you. But you have to prove it." That means drug tests, home inspections, character witnesses, parenting classes, and Jake, it means being prepared for them to say no. The possibility of losing Luna, really losing her, permanently makes Jake's chest tight with fear. But he pushes through, takes the parenting classes, even though he's the only single man in a room full of married couples, submits to the drug tests without complaint, opens his home and his life to social workers who poke through his cabinets and ask invasive questions about his income and his relationships. Through it all, Luna grows. At 4 months, she starts smiling real smiles, not just gas. The first time she smiles at Jake, he cries, actually cries, tears running down his tattooed face while Chains witnesses it and promises to never, ever tell anyone. Chains tells everyone. Jake doesn't really mind. At 5 months, Luna discovers her hands. She grabs at everything. Jake's beard, the patches on his vest, the dog tags he still wears from his army days. She's fascinated by his tattoos, tracing the lines with her tiny fingers like she's trying to understand the stories written on his skin. Jake starts telling her those stories, about his time in Afghanistan, about the brothers he lost, about finding the club and discovering a new kind of family. She doesn't understand, obviously, but she listens with serious eyes like every word matters. "You're good at this," Sarah tells him one evening when she stops by. Luna's asleep on his chest, drooling on his shirt, and Jake's reading a motorcycle magazine one-handed. At what? Being her dad. The word still feels strange. Dad. Father, but it's starting to fit, like broken-in leather. I'm terrified every day that I'm screwing it up. Welcome to parenthood. Sarah smiles. That feeling never goes away. You just learn to work through it. The first night, Luna sleeps in her own room, in her own crib, in their house. Jake doesn't sleep at all. He sits outside her door listening to the monitor, convinced something will go wrong. Around 3 a.m., Hammer texts him. "Hammer, you still awake?" Jake, "How did you know?" Hammer, "Because I did the same thing with all 3 of mine. First night's the hardest. She's fine, brother. Go to sleep." Jake, "What does she need something?" Hammer, "Then she'll cry and you'll hear her. That's how this works. Trust the process." Jake doesn't sleep, but he does move to his own bed, and when Luna wakes at 6 a.m. with her usual hungry cry, he's there in seconds, scooping her up and carrying her to the kitchen to make a bottle. "Good morning, little moon," he murmurs, kissing her forehead. "You ready for another day?" She coos at him, and his heart swells so much it actually hurts. The first sign of trouble comes on a Tuesday. Jake's at the clubhouse for a mandatory meeting, Luna with Sarah and David for a few hours, when Hammer pulls him aside. "We got word from our contacts in Vegas. Someone's asking questions about you." Jake's blood runs cold. "What kind of questions?" "About a baby. About where you're living, who you're living with. Could be nothing but it could be her mother." Jake finishes the thought. "Or whoever abandoned her." The possibility has haunted him since the beginning. What if someone comes back for Luna? What if they have legal rights that supersede his own claim? "We're looking into it," Hammer assures him. Tank's got his tech guys tracing the inquiries. "But Reaper, you need to be prepared for this." Jake picks Luna up early, holding her a little tighter than usual. She squirms, making her annoyed sound, and he forces himself to relax. "Everything okay?" Sarah asks, reading his face. "Just club stuff." But it's not just club stuff. And when Patricia Chen calls 2 days later, Jake's worst fears are confirmed. A woman named Crystal Hayes has come forward, Patricia says without preamble. She claims to be Luna's biological mother. She's demanding custody. The world tilts. Jake sits down hard, phone pressed to his ear. She abandoned her, left her in the desert to die. She claims she was in crisis, postpartum depression, no support system, no resources. She says she immediately regretted her decision and has been looking for Luna ever since. For 3 months. She's been looking for 3 months and just now found her? Jake. Patricia's voice is gentle but firm. The law is complicated when it comes to biological parents. If she can prove she's Luna's mother, and if she can demonstrate she's now capable of caring for her, no. The word comes out hard, final. She doesn't get to throw her away and then change her mind. Luna's mine. Legally, she's not. Not yet. You're still in the foster to adopt process. A biological parent coming forward complicates everything. Jake's hands shake. He looks at Luna, playing on her activity mat with the concentration of someone defusing a bomb. She's discovered how to make the little mirror rattle, and she's delighted by this new power. What do I do? We fight. We document everything you've done for Luna, the home you've built, the stability you provided, the bond you formed. We argue that returning her to someone who abandoned her would be harmful. But Jake, I need you to understand, this is going to get ugly. It gets ugly. Crystal Hayes shows up at the house 3 days later, accompanied by a lawyer and a social worker. Jake opens the door to find a woman in her 20s, thin to the point of fragility, with Luna's eyes. Those eyes gut him. I want to see my daughter, Crystal says, and her voice breaks on the word. Everything in Jake wants to slam the door to protect Luna from this person who hurt her. But Patricia's words echo in his head. Don't give them ammunition. Be cooperative. Be calm. Be the bigger person. She's inside, he says, stepping back. But before we see what happens with that visit, I want to hear from you. What do you think should happen here? Does Crystal deserve a second chance, or should Jake fight to keep Luna? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I read every single one. And if you haven't subscribed yet, do it now, because this story is about to take a turn that'll break your heart before it puts it back together. Crystal Hayes looks like she's been through hell. Jake recognizes the signs, the shadows under her eyes, the way she holds herself like she's expecting a blow, the tremor in her hands. He's seen it in veterans coming home, in brothers struggling with addiction, in people who survived things they shouldn't have had to survive. It doesn't make him less angry, but it makes him see her as human. She's in the living room, he says, leading the way. Luna's in her bouncer, gnawing on a teething ring and making her happy gurgling sounds. When she sees Jake, her whole face lights up, arms reaching for him automatically. Crystal makes a sound something between a gasp and a sob. She doesn't know me, Crystal whispers. No, Jake says flatly. She doesn't. The social worker, a woman named Mrs. Patterson, steps in. Mr. Morrison, would you mind giving Ms. Mistress Hayes a few minutes alone with Luna? Every instinct screams at him to refuse. But Patricia coached him through this. Be cooperative. Show you're putting Luna's interests first. Fine, but I'm in the next room. He leaves the door open, positioning himself where he can see and hear everything. Crystal approaches Luna slowly, like she's approaching a wild animal. Hi, baby girl, she says softly. Hi, Luna. You probably don't remember me, but I'm... Her voice breaks. I'm your mama, and I'm so sorry. Luna stares at her, more interested in the teething ring than this stranger. Crystal reaches out tentatively, and Luna allows her to touch her hand, just for a moment before she pulls away and looks toward the door, toward Jake. Dada, Luna says. It's the first time she's said it. The first time she's called him anything close to a name, and the timing is a knife straight to Jake's heart. Crystal's face crumbles. She calls you Dada. Yeah, Jake says from the doorway, unable to stay away. She does. I left her, Crystal says, still looking at Luna. I was alone and scared, and I thought she'd be better off, that someone would find her and give her the life I couldn't. Someone did find her, Jake says. Me, and I've spent the last 3 months making sure she has everything she needs. I can see that. Crystal looks around the room at the baby-proofed corners. The toys organized in bins, the photos already on the wall of Luna at different stages. You love her, more than anything. Even though she's not yours, she is mine. Jake's voice is steel. Blood doesn't make family, love does. And I've loved her from the moment I found her in that desert. Crystal's lawyer steps forward. Mr. Morrison, my client acknowledges her mistakes, but she's been in treatment for postpartum depression. She's got stable housing now, a job, a support system. She's Luna's biological mother, and she wants her daughter back. You can't just... Jake starts, but Patricia appears in the doorway. Mrs. Patterson, might I suggest we take this conversation somewhere private, away from the baby? They end up in the kitchen, Jake and Patricia on one side of the table, Crystal and her lawyer on the other, Mrs. Patterson in the middle. Let's be clear about what we're dealing with, Patricia says. Ms. Hayes, you abandoned your infant daughter in a life-threatening situation. Mr. Morrison found her and has provided exceptional care for 3 months. He's in the process of legally adopting her. I was sick, Crystal says. I didn't know what I was doing. The postpartum depression, it was like being underwater. I couldn't think straight. And yet you drove her out to the desert, Jake growls. You had enough presence of mind to do that. I thought it was a hospital. Crystal's eyes fill with tears. I swear to God, I thought I was leaving her at a hospital. I was so confused, so out of it. When I realized what I'd done, where I'd actually left her, I called the police, but they couldn't find her. No one could. Mrs. Patterson consults her notes. There is a record of Miss Hayes reporting her daughter missing the morning after the incident. The description matched. If she cared so much, why did it take 3 months to find Luna? Jake demands. Because you didn't go through official channels, Crystal's lawyer says. You didn't report finding her. You took her home. I saved her life. We're not disputing that, the lawyer continues. But legally, you had an obligation to immediately notify authorities. Instead, you kept her, which means Miss Hayes has been desperately searching while you've been playing house. Patricia's hand on Jake's arm stops him from lunging across the table. My client, Patricia says icily, has been through extensive background checks, home studies and evaluations. He's taken parenting classes, maintained stable employment, and provided Luna with a safe, loving home. The question isn't whether he followed protocol. It's what's in Luna's best interest now. And being with her mother isn't in her best interest? Crystal asks quietly. I don't know, Patricia says, honestly. That's for the court to decide. Mrs. Patterson closes her folder. I'll be making my recommendation to the judge, but in the meantime I'm ordering supervised visitation. Miss Hayes will have the right to see Luna twice a week, here in Mr. Morrison's home, with supervision present. Jake's jaw clenches. You're bringing her back here. Luna's primary residence remains with you during the investigation, Mrs. Patterson confirms. But Miss Hayes has rights. The court will determine permanent placement. After they leave, Jake sits on the floor of Luna's nursery, watching her sleep. She's on her back, arms thrown above her head in that surrendered way babies sleep, completely trusting that the world will keep her safe. He's failed at a lot of things in his life, but he won't fail her. The next 6 weeks are torture. Crystal comes for her supervised visits, and each time, Jake watches her try to connect with Luna. She brings toys, books, sings songs in a voice that shakes with emotion. Luna tolerates her presence but doesn't warm to her, always looking for Jake when she's uncertain or tired. She needs time, Sarah tells him after one particularly difficult visit. You can't expect her to bond instantly with someone she doesn't remember. What if the judge gives her to Crystal anyway? What if blood is all that matters? Then you fight, and we fight with you. The club rallies in ways that still amaze him. Tank creates a portfolio of documentation, every doctor's appointment, every milestone, photos and videos showing Luna thriving in Jake's care. James builds a playground in the backyard, complete with a toddler-safe swing. Maria organizes character witnesses, including teachers, neighbors, even the local pediatrician who's treated Luna. This kid has more people rooting for her than most adults, Patricia says, reviewing the evidence. But Jake, you need to prepare yourself. Crystal has been complying with every requirement: therapy, parenting classes, drug tests. She's showing the court she's serious about getting better. Good for her, Jake says bitterly. Doesn't change what she did. Actually, in family court it might. Judges like redemption stories. The hearing is scheduled for early December. As the date approaches, Jake becomes increasingly withdrawn, spending every free moment with Luna like he's trying to memorize her. One night, Hammer finds him in the clubhouse at 2 a.m., Luna asleep against his chest. You're going to make yourself sick, Hammer says, sitting down. I can't lose her. I know. She's everything, Hammer. I didn't think I could love someone this much. Didn't think I was capable of it. You've always been capable of it. You just needed the right reason. Jake looks down at Luna's sleeping face. What if the right reason isn't enough? Then you appeal. You fight harder, you don't give up. Hammer leans forward, but Reaper, you also have to accept that sometimes the fight isn't about winning. It's about doing right by that little girl, even if right breaks your heart. You're saying I should let her go. I'm saying you should consider what Luna needs, not what you need. And if Crystal's really turned her life around, if she's really capable of being a good mother now, maybe Luna needs both of you. The idea is radical and terrifying, but it plants itself in Jake's mind like a seed. The day before the hearing, Crystal asks to meet him alone. No lawyers, no social workers, just the two of them. They meet at a coffee shop, neutral territory. Crystal looks better than she did at their first meeting, healthier, more present. But she also looks scared. "I wanted to thank you," she says, wrapping her hands around her coffee cup, "for taking care of her, for loving her." Jake doesn't trust himself to speak. "I was so lost when I had her," Crystal continues. "Her father left when I told him I was pregnant. My family kicked me out. I had no money, no support, no idea what I was doing. The depression hit hard and fast, and she swallows, "I wasn't myself, I was drowning." "That doesn't excuse what you did." "No, it doesn't." She meets his eyes. "Nothing excuses it, but I need you to understand, I never stopped loving her. Even in my worst moments, even when I couldn't think straight, I loved her. That's why I thought leaving her somewhere safe was the answer. I wanted her to have a better life. She has a better life. With me. I know." Crystal's eyes fill with tears. "I've seen it. The way she looks at you. The way you've built a home for her. You're everything I wasn't capable of being." "Then why are you trying to take her away?" "Because she's my daughter." The words burst out of her. "Because I spent 3 months thinking she was dead or lost forever, and then I found out she was alive, and I need her to know I didn't give up on her. I need a chance to be her mother." Jake's anger wars with something else, understanding maybe. Empathy. He knows what it's like to be broken. To make choices you can't take back. "I can't just give her to you," he says finally. "I'm not asking you to." Crystal takes a shaky breath. "I talked to my lawyer about alternatives, about what would be best for Luna, not just what I want." "What are you saying?" "I'm saying maybe Hammer's right. Maybe she needs both of us." The courtroom is packed. On one side, Jake, Patricia, and what seems like half the Hells Angels. On the other, Crystal, her lawyer, and a small group of supporters from her therapy group. Judge Martha Reynolds has been on the bench for 20 years. She's seen everything, and her expression gives nothing away as she reviews the case files. "This is an unusual situation," she begins. "A child abandoned in extraordinary circumstances, found and cared for by someone who had no legal obligation to do so, and now a biological mother who claims she's addressed the issues that led to her initial crisis." She looks at Crystal. "Ms. Hayes, you put your daughter in a life-threatening situation. That's a fact we can't ignore. However, you've also shown significant progress in addressing your mental health and building stability. The question is whether that progress is sufficient." Then she turns to Jake. "Mr. Morrison, you provided exceptional care for Luna. Your home study results are exemplary. Your reference is glowing. But you also failed to follow proper procedures when you found her. You should have immediately contacted authorities." "With respect, Your Honor," Jake says, "if I'd done that, Luna would have gone into the system. She would have been just another case number. Instead, she became your daughter." "Yes, ma'am." Judge Reynolds is quiet for a long moment. Then, "I've reviewed Mrs. Patterson's recommendations, the psychological evaluations, the evidence from both parties. This is a case where there's no clear villain. Miss Hayes made a catastrophic mistake while suffering from a severe mental illness. Mr. Morrison made a questionable legal choice that resulted in extraordinary care for a vulnerable child." Jake's heart pounds. Luna's with Maria in the waiting room, oblivious to the fact that her entire future is being decided. However, the judge continues, "My primary concern is not what the adults in this situation want or deserve. It's what serves Luna's best interest, and after careful consideration I've reached a decision." The pause feels like an eternity. "Sole custody to Mr. Morrison." Jake's knees nearly buckle. Crystal makes a sound like she's been punched. But Judge Reynolds isn't done with court-mandated visitation for Ms. Hayes, supervised initially with the possibility of overnight visits pending continued psychological evaluation and stability. Additionally, I'm ordering family therapy for all 3 of you together, because here's what I see: a little girl who needs consistency, love, and security. Mr. Morrison has proven he can provide those things. But I also see a biological mother who's fighting hard to overcome her demons and be part of her daughter's life. Luna deserves to know her story, her origins, her mother if, and when Miss Hayes can be a stable, positive presence. She looks between them. This isn't winner take all. This is about building a family structure that serves a child who's already been through too much. Can you both commit to putting Luna's needs ahead of your own? Jake looks at Crystal. She's crying silently, but she nods. Yes, Your Honor, they say in unison. Good, because I'm going to be watching. One slip, one sign that either of you is prioritizing your own feelings over that child's well-being. And we'll be back here reassessing. Understood? Yes, Your Honor. Outside the courtroom, Jake finds Crystal sitting on a bench sobbing into her hands. He should feel victorious. He won. Luna's his. But all he feels is tired. He sits down beside her. Hey. She looks up, mascara streaked down her face. You must hate me. Yeah, Jake says honestly. Sometimes, but I get it. Being broken, making mistakes, trying to fix them. I don't deserve her. Maybe not, but she deserves to know you tried, that you got better, that you loved her enough to fight, even when you knew you might lose. Crystal wipes her eyes. Thank you for taking care of her, for being what I couldn't be. Thank you for bringing her into the world. The words surprise him, but they're true. For giving me the chance to be her dad. It's not forgiveness, not exactly, but it's a start. 6 months later, Luna's first birthday party is chaos in the best possible way. The backyard is full of bikers and their families, Sarah and David and Miller, Crystal and her new boyfriend, a guy Jake's run a background check on old habits die hard, neighbors, and what seems like every kid under 5 in a 3-mile radius. Luna sits in her high chair, face covered in chocolate cake, laughing as Chains makes faces at her. She's walking now, 13 wobbly steps before she falls on her diapered bottom. She says, Dada, clear as day, and also, Mama, though she uses that one for both Jake and Crystal in a way that used to bother him but doesn't anymore. Crystal comes every Sunday for dinner. They're not friends exactly, but they're something. Co-parents, maybe. People united by love for the same little girl. She's beautiful, Crystal says, watching Luna smash cake into her hair. You've done such a good job with her. We've done a good job, Jake corrects. You too. It's true. Crystal's been consistent, stable, genuinely trying. The therapy helps both her individual sessions and the family sessions where they work through the complicated dynamics of their situation. Luna will grow up knowing her story, knowing that her biological mother loved her enough to get help, and her father loved her enough to never let her go, knowing that family isn't always simple or traditional, but it's always built on choice and commitment. Make a wish, little moon, Jake says, holding her hand as they approach the birthday cake, the real one, not the smash cake she's currently destroying. Luna blows out the candle well, Jake blows it out while she waves her hands and shouts, and everyone cheers. Looking around at the faces gathered in his backyard, at the family they've built from broken pieces and second chances, Jake realizes something. He's happy, genuinely, deeply happy in a way he never thought possible. The road that led here started with darkness, a baby abandoned, a man adrift, 2 broken people trying to survive. But somewhere along the way, in the choosing and the fighting and the refusing to give up, darkness turned to light. Luna's light. And it's bright enough to guide them all home. So there you have it, Jake and Luna's story from that desert highway to this backyard full of love and laughter. It wasn't easy, and it wasn't perfect, but it was real. Before you go, I want to know what part of this story touched your heart the most. Was it Jake finding Luna? The fight for custody? The choice to build a family together despite everything? Drop a comment and let me know. Your thoughts mean everything to this channel. And if you love this story, hit that subscribe button, because we've got more emotional biker tales coming your way. Stories about brotherhood, redemption, and the unexpected ways love finds us when we need it most. Next week, a Hell's Angel discovers his childhood bully is now homeless and changes everything. You won't want to miss it. Until then, ride safe and remember, family isn't always about blood. Sometimes it's about who shows up when it matters most.